Welcome back, happy campers.
What's up?
I'm Spike.
I'm Chris.
That is Chris, and this is Geekin Out. Because we missed an episode last week, we're going to do an extra episode this week just to get caught back up.
Fill y'all in.
This one, now last time Chris had a bunch of stuff he wanted to throw out there, just a list about yay long. But you still got it sitting there next to you. We're recording these one after the other. What are you talking about? Anyway, I've got about 2 or 3 items I want to go over, and they're kind of related because it's all about corporate overlords this time around. There is a rumor floating around the interwebs right now, and some of the comics insiders are talking about it. It's the idea that AT&T is about to pull the plug on DC Comics. AT&T, for those of you who don't know, okay, DC Comics has been owned by Warner Brothers since the early 70s, actually, when they and Warner Brothers were both bought by the Kenny Shoe Corporation. Yeah, buddy. Those are the Hush Puppy people, by the way, I believe. Anyway, if it's not, somebody let me know in the comments. Needless to say, Kenny Shoes eventually divested themselves of their entertainment branch, so DC kind of wound up under Warner's umbrella, and that's why Warner Brothers has done all the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, all the DC characters have fallen under the Warner Brothers umbrella.
For years.
Now, AT&T just bought Warner and has rechristened them Warner Media, because who reads Time Magazine anymore? So there goes Time Warner. And AOL. Anyway, so yeah, 20 years ago, nobody'd be laughing at AOL. So anyway, the idea now, this is the story that's going around. AT&T is somewhere around $160 billion in debt right now. Roughly a third of that it came from the purchase of Warner. So they're looking for ways to cut costs. One of the ways they're going to do it is the scuttlebutt says, they are going to pull DC's monthly publishing schedule away from them. They will not be publishing monthly comics anymore.
So they're still going to do DC movies, but not DC comics.
Right. Graphic novels be kept in print. Maybe they'll occasionally do original content, but AT&T is not known for their innovation anymore. Bell Labs was long, long ago. So now they're talking about just exploiting the heck out of... They consider Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman, these core characters to be evergreen, and they're going to focus on them. So every other DC superhero is just going to fade into the woodwork, but they're going to keep essentially the Justice League alive. And it's a question of how much do you trust in internet rumors? Not that much. And on the other hand, it's also a massive corporate mega monolith. It's like a global corporation in AT&T. Do they really give a crap about what DC does? And this is something else to note too. DC has had to fight this fight for their survival twice before. Once happened in the late 70s when they had to convince Warner Brothers, we could actually make money off of Superman comic books to go along with your Superman movie, and of course those profits belong to you because you make the movie, we make the comic books for you. And that's how they managed to survive the initial rush back in the 70s. And in the 80s, Jeanette Kahn, she is my patron saint of comic books. Jeanette Kahn had to talk them into letting them survive because they were coming up with new intellectual properties. And that happened around 1984. They had that argument, and what happened not too long after 1984? The Dark Knight Returns, The Watchmen, V for Vendetta, the new Swamp Thing, all these huge intellectual properties that came out and just generated millions and millions of dollars for Warner.
Which is why they shouldn't do that now, because they can come up with new stuff that will provide for new ideas for
Right,
TV
but
shows, movies.
That's see, that argument works on Warner Brothers because Warner is a media company. AT&T is a technology company. They don't know from creative. They've never owned a studio. They've never owned a media operation. AT&T bought Warner because they wanted something to stream to compete with Disney and Netflix and everybody else. Well, they got that. What do they need DC Comics for?
But see, now that's the thing. Like, I mean, no.
And the question is, can Warner actually? Warner may be the one who has to actually pull DC's fat out of the fire and keep them alive. Maybe even without even letting AT&T know they're still running. But,
well, I mean, exactly, because I mean, I don't see why AT&T really has any say so in this. To be honest, because I mean, Warner Brothers is a big studio, been around for a long time. Over here, DC is like a smidge below it, not too far, and AT&T is like way down here. So, wouldn't Warner Brothers be the one in charge saying, "Oh, so you need to cut costs? Well, we can come up with something." Not them come up with something.
let me give you a metaphor to explain what's going on here. Okay, let me give you a metaphor, and ironically enough, this is not a DC metaphor. This is a Star Wars metaphor. Okay. If Warner Media is the Earth, okay, and DC would be the moon, AT&T would be the Death Star coming into orbit, aiming straight at the moon. What's the Earth going to do? Get in the way and have a nice little DC-sized hole right through the middle of it? Leave it looking like a donut or something? That's what's happening. And that's the rumor. I don't normally report on rumors, but there are just way too many juicy rumors came out this weekend that I actually heard about, and I'm usually the last to know anything. Anybody who knows me knows that. So I wanted to get your reaction. If AT&T were to actually force DC to stop issuing new monthly comic books, our buddy Scott down at Scott's Comic Relief downtown, one of our greatest official unsponsors, because we don't ask a dime for him, but we believe in it. There goes about, what, quarter to a third of his business?
Yeah.
Now, quick question. If AT&T pulls that trigger, how long before Disney does the same thing to Marvel's publishing arm? Now, remember, Marvel Publishing started the Marvel Studio. Okay, they needed some help to get it done, but they got it done, and they're actually funding their own stuff. Marvel does that, not Disney. Disney doesn't pay for Marvel movies. Marvel pays for their own. But Disney still owns Marvel. If they decide that they want Marvel to cease publication, do you think Marvel would actually fight it?
They will try.
Now DC would fight it, I think. Dan DiDio is an idiot. That's just one of the great unspoken truths, folks. Water is wet, the sky is blue, Dan DiDio is an asshole. Okay? But Dan DiDio, I think, at least, and Jim Lee also another proctological wonderkin, at least those two will not go down without a fight. But do you really think Kevin Feige gives a crap about Marvel Publishing? I mean, he's already got 50 years or so worth of storylines to work through. Eventually he'll run out.
Yeah, eventually Marvel will start to lose fan base because they'll probably
especially
fire,
in Phase 4.
They'll fire all of their, big time directors and writers, and then hire new people, and then the movies will not be as good, and then people will be like,
yeah. Now that brings me up to another thing. Now Phase 4, that's a whole other thing by itself. That's going to be like Phase Wake Up, apparently, but that's not this topic. That's not this episode. That does bring up something. That does remind me, though. DC has already released. In other words, essentially, they stopped giving work to the letterers and a lot of the colorists at DC Comics. The guys who actually make sure that the 4 colors are in there, like they do 4 colors anymore. But the guys who actually make sure that the pictures have pretty little colors, and the guys who letter the word balloons and stuff, they're gone. All their stuff has been automated and is going through corporate studios. Now, though that's the easy pickings. Next up, inkers, the guys who finish the penciled artwork. Okay, understand all that's done digitally now. You can now digitally ink. You don't need an inker to sit there and do that. The penciler can do that. Now, how long that leaves the writer, the artist. That's why they call them artists now instead of penciler and inker usually. You've got the artist, you got the writer, you've got the editor. Once you're down to those three on a book, what's the use of even running the book? And remember, labor is always your biggest expense in any business.
Well,
labor is always your number one
expense. Let's just hope that it's just a rumor and it doesn't actually go any further.
But there's another rumor going around, and again,
well, no,
it's just too juicy for me to ignore. Okay, we're already 11 minutes into this, but we'll go to this one. This one's too juicy to ignore. The rumor is going around Star Wars, and explains why so many of the old school characters are biting the dust in episodes 7 and 8. Why Han Solo's dead, why Luke Skywalker's dead, why... Well, I'm not going to get into Princess Leia, but the reason they're getting rid of all these characters, the reason you haven't seen C-3PO and R2-D2 so much... George Lucas, according to the rumor, George Lucas still has ownership of the old school characters from the original from the first 6 chapters. So he has the rights to all of them. Disney has the rights to Star Wars. They have the right to license it so they can use it. So they get all the merchandising rights from Star Wars, okay? They have all this stuff. George Lucas still owns the characters. DC owns the story. George Lucas owns the characters. So as long as Disney is still using Skywalkers and Darth Vader, haven't you wondered why you're not seeing Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker anywhere in 7 or 8? That's supposedly why, because they want to do away with those guys so they can make Star Wars their own franchise and not pay George Lucas any more money. How much faith do you put into that rumor?
I actually put a lot of faith in this one.
That does sound like something Disney would do.
It is, because if you stop and think about it, when George Lucas decided to let Disney buy
Disney bought Lucasfilm, okay? Disney bought Lucasfilm.
And that was a mistake.
And
I knew that was a mistake for them to do. But it was going to eventually happen anyways because, well, it is a Fox property too. And Disney bought Fox. So, but yet, then again, look, I'm so conflicted on this because George Lucas should still get paid. But I still think that they should take the new group in the Star Wars movies and have them go on a brand new adventure and stop making it all about Skywalker and Darth Vader. Even though those characters are great, it's just, I want them to move on to new adventures. Explore more stuff that is out there instead of it being the same story.
Rattle, 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 rattle.
Which is why I'm also a little bit more for Star Trek.
Now, speaking of Star Trek, that's the third. This one, not so much a rumor. This is actually confirmed.
Oh, I know this one.
Okay. Oh, do you know this one? You tell me then.
Is this about Quentin Tarantino?
No, this is not about Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, well, I don't know.
No, this is along the lines of evil corporate overlords. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Let me give you a real quick Star Trek history here, okay? Star Wars on the brain now. I don't even watch the thing. Star Trek started back in the mid-'60s as a Desilu. This is from the studio that Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball started, okay? So for those few of you who don't know, if it wasn't for Lucille Ball, you wouldn't have Star Trek, okay? Nor would you have Mission Impossible.
I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy paid for Star Trek and Mission Impossible and about a dozen other legendary shows, including The Fugitive, I believe.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm. Boom. See? One of the
Make
few who
that
didn't know.
effect.
Anyway, so Desilu was bought by CBS back in the 70s. Okay, remember, corporate takeover started in the 70s. CBS bought Desilu, they got the rights to Star Trek. Viacom, meanwhile, had bought Paramount back around
Viacom.
late 70s or right around 80. They had bought Paramount. And then they bought CBS and merged them. Okay, that's why Paramount did all the Star Trek movies.
Right.
So they did all the Star Trek movies. They did the Star Trek The Next Generation, and it was good. And they did Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and it was okay. And they did all the Star Trek shows. Everything Star Trek went to Viacom. Okay, so it was all under the Viacom umbrella. You had the toys, you had the books, which I still love to read the books. You have all these things, all this Star Trek merchandise. Have you noticed the Star Trek merchandise kind of dried up over the last 10 years or so? 10, 15, 20 years? Ever since they stopped doing the Next Generation movies.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be doing Deep Space Nine movies after that and never generated because Viacom decided in their infinite wisdom they were going to split CBS and Paramount up into not spinning them off into their own companies now, but as two divisions within Viacom. CBS got the classic Star Trek. They got Star Trek, they got the Next Generation, everything that had been generated up to that point. Paramount Studios, therefore, could not use the old school William Shatner,
Wow.
Captain Kirk. They couldn't use Leonard Nimoy's Spock. They couldn't do all this other stuff unless they made special arrangements with CBS. And CBS can't bury shit. They charged Paramount up the ass to use Leonard Nimoy in that precious little first Star Trek film. They didn't just have to pay Leonard Nimoy up the ass; they had to pay CBS for the rights to use Leonard Nimoy. So CBS owns all the good Star Trek stuff you like, all the bad Star Trek stuff that you don't like the toys, you don't like the actors, you don't like the storylines. All this other crap, the stuff that streams on CBS All Access, by the way, also belongs to Paramount. That's all the new stuff. That all belongs to Paramount. Paramount had to generate at least a certain percentage of original content. In other words, they had to rework everything so that they could make money off of it. It had to be, they couldn't use more than 25% of the original intellectual property, I believe. So they could use the name Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, but it couldn't look like William Shatner. Yeah, you could have the pointed ears, but you couldn't use Vulcan. That's why Vulcan blew up.
Wow.
All this stuff. That explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Now, okay, Star Trek Picard is about to hit CBS All Access, their streaming service. Viacom is about this close to ending the split between CBS and Viacom, which means that's the reason, this is the rumor part, this is why they're doing Picard, because Picard is originally being produced under the CBS unit. If CBS can prove to their corporate overlords at Viacom that the Next Generation is still viable, they put the two back together, they're back to a shared Star Trek ownership, all the new stuff goes away, here comes the Next Generation,
Wow.
They reboot everything back to the way it was. So it's not even a reboot, it's a reset. It goes back to the way it was. It started off in 1966 with the original series, and it all becomes one timeline all over again. The prime timeline returns,
Wow.
and all of J.J. Abrams' lens flares just get jettisoned out of Jeffrey's tube.
Wow.
So, is there anything left of your mind left to blow after that? Quick reaction, we got about 30 seconds left. Final words. What do you think? After all that stuff.
Well, look, I am excited to see Picard, even though it means I'll have to shut out more money for the ABC thing.
That's CBS. All that.
CBS, whatever it is.
Yes.
I really don't want to because I haven't heard nothing good about the new Star Trek show. Some people say it's good, some people say it's
Discovery, no, but I'm hearing good things about Picard. But,
and
but
that's
the problem is,
only reason why I want to watch this one is because Picard. Look, I grew up with the Next Generation. I love the William Shatner thing, but Next Generation was my thing, and having Picard come back and doing a new set of things.
his new haunted Captain Picard.
Especially when you have Data coming back. Data's coming back.
That's the other thing. Originally, he was supposed to be a supporting character. Now they're thinking it's going to be flashbacks. Either way, Data's still there. Okay, Brent Spiner's still there playing Data. Okay, it's money to print.
I don't think it'd be flashbacks. I think he's not doing nothing. Bring him back. Bring him back.
So anyway, if the rumor attached to this, everything else is true about CBS and Paramount and Viacom. The rumor has it that if Picard is able to jack up the all-access numbers by a large amount, that'll finish convincing Viacom that it's a good idea to recombine CBS and Paramount, and then all of a sudden, you've got your Star Trek back. That is also, by the way, why the Mission Impossible movies are not quite like the TV series. They also, again, CBS's intellectual property, they had to make some changes to do the movies from Paramount, but they just did a better job with the movies than they did with Star Trek. So, final words, like I said, I don't normally let us do a lot of rumors on this one, but like I said, these are just way too juicy to just let pass by. And they're all hitting like this, one after the other. I've found out all this stuff since this past Wednesday. So the idea that we could see an end to DC publishing. I mean, they've been publishing since 1935, I believe, and that would be a sad thing to see them go. But
no, they should.
But we've also said goodbye to Radio Shack, and we're saying goodbye to Sears. We're said goodbye to Montgomery Ward. Toys R Us. A bunch of Toys R Us is making a comeback though.
Oh, really?
They're actually opening new stores, but they're going to be a lot smaller than the old ones. Yeah, I just thought I threw that in there for you. But bottom line is, every rumors don't come from a kernel of fact. They come from a kernel of hope. Somebody hopes that this is what it's going to be like. They hear a little something and the rumors start to grow. Maybe given time, these will come to pass. Don't sing a funeral dirge for DC yet, but do keep your fingers crossed that they finally straighten out Star Trek. And as for Disney and Star Wars, good luck with that one, buddy. But if anybody can do it, Disney itself doesn't care, but they can find the people who give enough of a damn to make it work. So,
my thoughts are AT&T sucks.
yes, they do.
Disney needs to calm their shit down a little bit.
Don't you just
Saying they need to calm down. Keep things, moving. CBS.
CBS All Access, yes.
And Viacom should come together, shake hands, and just release to a new generation of Trekkies.
So until next time, I'm Spike.
And I'm Chris.
And his mind is blown. We'll see you next time on Geekin' Out. And by the way, we may actually have a third episode coming out here shortly, because I do have some snaps and craps that I want to play with you sometime or another. Yeah, I've been building them up. And at some point, I will be releasing the very first episode of The Chore of Duties later this month. That'd be August 2019. Don't know exactly when yet, but it is coming. And hopefully I can get them done in under 25 minutes. So until next time, God bless, God keep, and Godspeed. We'll see you all next time. Night all.